Right, we've been here for 10 years. We've won 7 different trophies. Have we made it into the Club Legends section? I mean, really, we deserve it, right? And nope. The guy that presents Homes Under the Hammer is in here, but we're not. I think bit of a rip-off, really. Still in Icons, and the only players that have made it into Icons are Buendia and Mepham. So, well, that's what the fans think. So there we go. We end the save still just stuck in Icons, despite the fact that we have personally won more trophies than any other manager at the club combined. Hello everyone and welcome to the final bonus episode of Norwich City Bouncing Back, as we take a look back at what we've done over the course of the save and the players that we've had along the way, and just have to deal with the lack of personal acclaim that we've had. 1 Premier League Manager of the Month in the entire save, and we don't even make it into Legends. Ridiculous. When you consider all the trophies we've won as well, I mean, 2nd place in the Premier League, Norwich's best ever league finish in history. We won the Europa League 3 times. I mean, does that count for nothing? We've been in the Super Cup, we've never won that one, but we won the FA Cup for the first time in the club's history. We won the Championship, Euro Cup 2 for the first time ever, a 3rd Carabao Cup. All the youth trophies that have been won as well are pretty good. So overall, the fact that the game does not classify us as a legend at this point is pretty offensive, actually. I'm not going to lie. I mean, but it's not about the personal awards, is it? It's about the club, but still ridiculous. But anyway, enough about me. We are here to honour the players who have been a part of this journey, the players that have helped us and shaped this club over 10 years to be as successful as we have been. So today I'm going to put together what I consider to be the team of the save. Feel free to comment what you think down below. This is what I think. We're not going to look at the overall best 11 that the game thinks until the end. We'll compare it to what I think and see how they match up. So we're going to go through each position. We'll look at all the players we had in that role that were sort of the prominent characters, and then I'm going to pick the one that I think had the best overall contribution. So of course, first of all, we will start with goalkeeper. This was the team of the year back in season 1, and our goalkeeper back in the championship was of course the original Tim Krul, who he's now retired. We let him go after 2 solid years between the sticks, and he went to Crystal Palace and didn't play a single game. Goalkeeper actually was the most problematic position probably of the entire save, really, because in 10 years we had 5 first choice goalkeepers, which probably tells you a lot about what you need to know about how things went on occasion. But Tim Krul was the first one. We then, of course, upgraded by signing Nick Pope from Burnley. He's now retired. We let him go. He went to West Ham United after 3 years of pretty good service. I mean, his first 2 seasons, he was absolutely brilliant. Made some fantastic saves, kept a lot of clean sheets. In his 3rd season, he absolutely collapsed and basically lost his place in the team. So we got a good amount of money from West Ham. He did not have a very good time at West Ham, even worse than he did for us. 58 goals conceded. They then loaned him out to Sivasspor. He did okay in 11 appearances in Turkey, and then he retired. So yeah, didn't have a great career after us. Obviously a very difficult player to classify, because in terms of pure goalkeeping, he was absolutely outstanding. He was probably the best goalkeeper we had, but his distribution, as I think is quite an accurate replication of Nick Pope from real life, his distribution was awful. The amount of points he cost us solely because he kicked the ball to someone not in a Norwich shirt was quite farcical. The amount that he ignored the instructions I gave him probably means he's not going to be in the team of the save. In his final season, he actually lost his place to the man who was our backup goalkeeper for most of the save, and that was Jack Butland, a solid performer we got from Crystal Palace for virtually nothing. Never really let us down. He had some dodgy games, I suppose, but he never really played much. 24 appearances before he retired at the age of 37. A dependable player, but not going to be the first choice. And then, of course, we signed this man, the man who was meant to solve all of our problems. Dean Henderson came in from Manchester United for a very good price, £14.75 million, and was first choice for his entire time here, and more or less did okay. He only had 1 season above a 7. We'll talk about that in a minute, but he was okay. The problem is he was just sort of the times when he was brilliant, he was the best goalkeeper in the world. The times when he wasn't, it was a complete disaster, and he cost us a lot of points. That's why we let him go. We sold him to Aston Villa for £33.5 million. Big profit, and he's gone on to have a brilliant season at Villa, at least in terms of his rating. He's conceded more goals than he ever did at Norwich, and an equal number of clean sheets as he had in his final season. But yeah, I mean, he was the season when he was really good. This season here, 23 clean sheets. That was, of course, the season where we nearly won the Premier League. He was brilliant that year, it has to be said. And then, of course, we did replace him for the final season with Aston Villa's previous goalkeeper, Jamie Hurd, who, it's fair to say, it didn't go as well as I would like. He's transfer listed. We're going to take him off the transfer list now, because while he was quite erratic and cost us a lot of points in the early stages of the season, he did, towards the end, develop quite well. And he's only young, and he did well against Real Madrid in the Europa League final. He's got a good future ahead of him. So who is going to get the spot in the team of the save, though? Well, I think because of that one season, it has to probably be Dean Henderson. This is probably the most difficult pick in the entire lineup, but yeah, Dean Henderson, he's the one. It's got to be him. So what about the defence? Well, this is far more straightforward. We'll go with right back, and straight away, obviously, it has to be Max Aarons, doesn't it? Because he's literally been our first choice right back for the entirety of the save. He lost his place a little bit this season, but otherwise, he's the only guy that's been here since the Championship. The amount of games he's played for the club is pretty special. 416 appearances for Norwich overall is really quite good, isn't it? 6 goals as well, not bad. Obviously, he gets the nod as the right back, and in terms of sort of backup right backs that we had, there was a sort of revolving door. There wasn't many. I mean, we had Ethan Laird on loan from Manchester United back in the first season. He's had a very good career, now at Bayern Munich. We had Adam Smith. He was a complete disaster to the point that he's not even got a profile in the game anymore. We had Brandon Williams on loan for a season. He did okay. He's at Celtic now. Pretty average career, really. We had Louis Coyle for a bit as well. Never really played much. Never really particularly good enough. And he went off to Derby. Now he's at Northampton. Very average career as well. And then our longest serving backup right back, Aaron Hickey, a man who was actually pretty reliable, pretty dependable. A player I'd recommend you pick up. We sold him to Napoli a couple of years ago. Not played too much, but decent average rating for him. But obviously Aarons is the one that gets in the team of the save. Left back as well. It's a pretty obvious choice. I mean, Tyrek Mitchell was the first choice during the first season. Had him on loan from Crystal Palace. Would have liked to have maybe signed him permanently. Went back there, played a bit, and then he's just sort of been around a variety of clubs. Some loan spells, some limited spells there. Never really developed as much as I thought he maybe could have done. Greg Taylor then came in as first choice, and he was sort of then became the backup, soon afterwards for a long old period. One of the sort of longest serving players. Yeah, was first choice in his first season. 6.79 did okay, but then we upgraded and then never really got as much of a look in. We sold him to Young Boys. Done quite well in Switzerland as Greg. But then obviously the man who is going to be in the lineup for Team of the Save, Jamal Lewis, the first returning player, the first guy we got back who Norwich had sold. Declining quite a bit. This season was not his best, but otherwise he has been a very reliable, solid performer. You can see his average ratings getting worse. 2 seasons below a 7 is a bit of a concern, but previously very, very dependable player. Of course he's going to be in the Team of the Save. And then what about centre-back? Well, that's kind of probably been the most successful area that we've had. Most guys, as you can see from the average ratings in here, have done quite well. The original centre-back partnership, what happened to them? Well, Christoph Zimmermann, we sold him eventually after a long old time of service until 2025. Went to Lokomotiv Moscow and then Monterrey in Mexico. Had a nice retirement. Hopefully got a nice fat paycheck as well. A solid player. Ben Gibson as well, solid player. We just missed out on 100 appearances for the club, which is a little bit harsh. He went to Real Vallecano, barely played for them, but he's now retired too. Jack Watmuth, our first ever money signing, permanent signing. He's still going, 33 years old at Barnsley. He went on a couple of loans. We sold him to Reading and then they sold him to Ipswich, back to Ipswich, and then he has spent the rest of the time at Barnsley. Decent career for him. John Suter, one of our early signings. I thought he was someone who could do really quite well. Never quite developed and got as good as I thought he could be. I suppose he never really had much of a look in, but we sold him to Osasuna and he didn't do very well. Has then spent the rest of his career in the MLS with Vancouver. And then there was this man, a genuine contender to get into the Team of the Save, James Tarkowski, a man perennially underrated by the game in terms of his in terms of how the coaches viewed him, but never let me down really. A very quality centre back, 115 appearances, retired in 2028 at the club. And then there was this man, the only player I have maligned more than Dean Henderson over the course of the save, Ethan Ampadu, a man who on paper should have been amazing, just never really played well for us. cost us so many matches. Eventually we sold him to Atletico Madrid, and he's had a pretty solid time of it in La Liga. Hayden Roberts, another man we brought in to try and fix the central defence, and left-footed, did a decent job. But some nice attributes. He was all right for his first season, just never really particularly amazing. Quite a good first season. Kind of lost his place after that. Got a good profit from China. He's having a great time in the Chinese Super League. But then we get into the two big dogs, the two men who, of course, have to be in the team of the save. Tarkowski is going to be on the bench. He can maybe feel himself a little bit unlucky not to be starting, but these two have to be there. The men who have cemented their place in central defence, the men who were there at the title challenge, the man who came in to fix that left-sided centre-back position that was a bit of a problem, probably the signing of the save in terms of all the different factors involved. For Ko Tomori, what an absolute rock at the back. Had a terrible second game where he completely mucked up a pass and gave away a goal, but since then has not really put a foot wrong. £70 million is an absolute bargain. The fact Chelsea let him go at all is pretty miraculous. He has played every single league game since then, and yeah, what a player. He of course makes it in the team, and alongside him, you can't look past. This man is arguably the player of the save. Certainly he wins player of the year every year. Chris Mepham, what a signing he's been. I don't think he's ever put a foot wrong, maybe one or two mistakes. But since he's come in, he's never been below a 7 at all, never even close. Just such a solid, reliable performer. He, of course, takes his place in the team with the save. Now, midfield is a bit more of an issue. Another one of the sort of problem positions, really, because we've had a lot of midfielders. None of them have been necessarily spectacular, certainly the sort of defensive roles. People we had in the early days, Lucas Rupp was a very reliable performer. He's now retired. He went off to Minnesota, had 55 games there in America. I remember he left. He was very unhappy when he left. I don't really know why. 82 games in the end for the club. Marco Stiepermann, another man in the sort of early days. He was so good in the first couple of seasons. Now a staff member, went off to Austria, Vienna, and didn't do too much in Austria. It's fair to say, not great performances. He absolutely collapsed in this season, I recall. But previously, very, very reliable player. 10 goals in the Championship is not bad. 12 assists in the Premier League as well. And Sean Longstaff, kind of the one who got away. The fact we never signed him permanently is a little bit perplexing to me. We probably could have done, but we never really did because of the other players that we'll talk about in a minute. First 2 seasons of the save, we had him on loan from Newcastle, and he was really very good. Very, good goal scoring options, some assists as well. Good average rating in the middle of the pitch. Decent player. We never signed him permanently because he wanted too much money. Went back to Newcastle, did okay, and he's been around a bit. Wolves, Sheffield United, Heerenveen, and now he's in Belgium with Zulte Waregem. Other midfielders we had, Ronaldo Vieira, probably kind of got a bit of a short shrift in terms of when we sold him a bit too soon, perhaps. Never really particularly let us down, but I kind of sold him for a bit more flashier players. Didn't do a very good job in Bayer Leverkusen, but since been at Bournemouth and has been a reliable player, albeit mostly in the Championship. Then other players we brought in, Harry Winks was someone who I felt was a player we definitely needed to get in, a real upgrade in the back of the pitch, and he was, I think he only really was the starting deep line playmaker for a couple of seasons. I think he got injured quite late on in this season, and that kind of sort of curtailed him a little bit. Then he sort of lost his place, but a solid option, decent player for us. Went to Sheffield United, did okay in a couple of seasons there. Then since then has been in Ligue 1 with Bordeaux, not particularly good anymore. I'm noticing a theme here. Players are not really playing particularly well since they leave us. Lewis Cook, then another player we brought in who I thought would maybe be better than he has been. He's not been awful. I mean, he's just been very, very, very average. Maybe actually will make his way into the team of the year since we signed him from Bournemouth. Been here a while. And then there was Dele Alli, another one of the sort of kind of bit of a letdown signings. His first season when we got him in from Spurs did very well. 12 goals, 5 assists. Since then, no, didn't do particularly well at all. Went to Lorient and has done okay in Ligue 1. Louis Sibley, another man who we spent quite a lot of money on, tapped him up from Derby for a while, and then he just never was really that good. Scored some important goals, but then we sold him to Leicester. He's been there ever since, and again, not really spectacular. Championship level player, kind of feels like. And then Finley Robertson, the ultimate backup player. He's at Hull City now. We sold him to Blackburn. He's again, championship level player. But who is going to make it into the team? Well, I think Longstaff maybe could. Ryan Davis, of course, has come in quite late and could maybe feel a little bit aggrieved to not be in the team, but his position is definitely sewn up without any sort of question about it. I think actually Lewis Cook maybe, but the defensive midfield role I'm going to give to a man who principally didn't play there, but Calvin Phillips, who is still here and just kind of, he's never really let us down particularly. He's chipped in with a lot of goals, a lot of assists. Very dependable, reliable player. Calvin Phillips is going to get in the team. It's a bit of a call. Could be Longstaff, could be Cook. This is probably the most difficult position, but I'm going to give it to Phillips. And then ahead of him in the box-to-box role, this one is not in any doubt at all. Hamza Chowdhury is going to get that one. A man who, I've said before, felt like every season he was going to be replaced. We got someone in who was better. And yet he just kept finding a way to play games. Even this season, managed to get 7 appearances and help us out along the road. One appearance this season, 27 the year before, 29 the year after, kind of tells it the whole story. Chipped in with some important goals, some important assists, some solid performances. Just the kind of player that, despite his attributes, never, ever stopped fighting for the shirt and fighting for the 3 points. And that's the kind of player I like. And then probably one of the easiest choices in the entire lineup, obviously, the Mazzala role is going to be James Maddison. I mean, he's not played much this season, but James Maddison was the absolute star, the pinnacle of the signings we made. We brought back Jamal Lewis, we brought back Ben Godfrey, of course, as well, but he was the main player that we re-signed, who Norwich had previously sold from Leicester. 37.5 million is an absolute bargain. His first 2 years back weren't amazing, but then he just got better and better and better. These 3 seasons here, he was simply outstanding. 16 assists and 8 goals in the league in the 2028-2029 season was really very good. And then the wingers, well, it's fair to say we've had a revolving door of wingers. Todd Cantwell was one of the original options that we had, who was here for a long old time. Of course, academy graduate. We sold him to Wolves. He didn't have a very good time there. He's now gone to FC Utrecht, and he's absolutely loving life in the Eredivisie, fair to say. He's found his level. He's an Eredivisie player. Very good couple of seasons for Todd. He could maybe make it in the team of the year for that position. Another man who could definitely contend for that is Amy Buendia, was here for a long old time as well. Again, one of the original players. The last remaining non-British or Irish player. We sold him slightly later than I would have liked. We could have had 20 million more than this from Barcelona the year before, but he turned the contract down. But he went to Arsenal. 2 solid seasons at Arsenal, it's fair to say, but he's kind of reached the end of his prime, really. Now spent last season on loan at Wolves, didn't do particularly well. Other players as well in and around the first team. Onel Hernandez, he's now retired, went to Dinamo Zagreb, then Karabag, didn't do particularly well there. Other players we could have mentioned early on actually as well, looking back at the first team. Oliver Skipp, we had on loan from Spurs, never really wanted to sign him permanently, never done particularly amazingly well in the save, although now he's at Mainz and is doing okay. Kenny McLean, he's now retired as well. We sold him to Aberdeen, was at Derby after that and did nothing, not pulling up many trees. But then the other wingers, one of the first sort of bigger name signings we made, Ademola Lookman, did okay. His first season, his ratings were never particularly good. 1 good season, 7 goals. Just one of these players where, he could have a really good game, be the best player on the pitch, score a wonder goal, and then otherwise just did absolutely nothing. Sold to Aston Villa, wasn't very good there either. He went to Malaga, and again, has been pretty average. Josh Martin, academy graduate, of course, got injured very early on, a broken leg, I recall. That kind of stunted him a little bit, never really got much of a look in with us. Has done okay around the rest of the continent. Went on loan to Blackburn, spent some time in Germany, then came back to Blackburn. He's now at Bournemouth, had a good year last year in the Championship. We had Curtis Jones on loan for a couple of seasons from Liverpool, 3 seasons in fact. Did play quite a lot of games in the first season, didn't get much for looking since then. He then left Liverpool, joined Bayer Leverkusen, has had a very good time of things in Germany, actually now at Hertha Berlin. Quite a big purchase for Hertha Berlin. Still only 29 years old. He's developed quite well. And then a man who's definitely in contention for team of the save, Marcus Edwards. Again, like Chowdhury, a sort of not amazing player. He had some brilliant physicals, but his technicals weren't amazing, but just kind of usually performed well. Never really let us down whenever he played. Long old time of service at the club. Dwindling returns as he lost his place in the team, but yeah, some good performances, especially early on, some very vital goals, particularly in some big Europa League games. Hasn't done amazingly well at Genoa, it's fair to say. Reece Nelson, probably one of the worst signings of the entire save. He's now at PSV with just 28 million, one of the worst seasons I've ever seen. Has done average at Wolves and now average at PSV as well. David Brooks was a sort of big money signing who we brought in for £72 million, ridiculous amount of money. Very good first season, kind of trailed off a little bit and has got progressively worse ever since. He's probably going to leave on a free transfer now, so Financially, it was a terrible move, but he did okay. Peter Vernon, still here, bit of a flop. And then some of the guys we've had recently, Mashallah, he's done mixed fortunes, not as well as I would have liked, not been great. Colin Dunn, brilliant season last year. We do love Colin. And then there's Aaron Hitchman, been around a lot, got him as a youngster, broke into the first team. Yeah, decent player, decent previous season. But who's going to be in the team of the save? Well, left-hand side is going to be a player who we didn't sign as a left winger. He was never meant to be a left winger, but actually, in terms of his performances, in terms of the best performer in that position over the course of the save, this man actually did excel there and chip in with some extremely important goals and performances. And that man is Dominic Solanke, perhaps a surprise inclusion, but I think when you look back at what he did, some of the games he rescued late on, considering he was never really first choice except maybe in his first season as striker, and to get actually this many goals and this many assists is pretty good. His return in the Europa League as well was usually very, very solid. I think, yeah, maybe a bit of a surprise, but no, Solanke, he's earned his place in the team of the save. And then who's going to be on the right-hand side? Well, Brooks could contend. Edwards had some special moments, but I do think probably on the balance of things, it has to be Emiliano Buendia. His season in the Championship in particular was ridiculous. 23 assists and 14 goals. Never quite reached that level again. The first year in the Premier League was good, but yeah, never quite reached that level. But I think probably overall, Buendia makes it in. And then what about strikers? Well, we've had a revolving door of strikers. Timo Pukki, the original, he's retired at 35. Spent some time in Standard Liège after he left. He got injured again quite early on. Never really had much of a look in. He lost his place to a youngster who we'll talk about in a minute. Adam Armstrong as well. He's had a great career, to be fair. We had Callum Wilson. Thought it could be big things. He may have been the worst signing of the lot. 7 goals. Went off to Atlanta and then Toulouse and then Bristol City and did nothing. This was the worst signing of the save. Murray McCunny, the first sort of regen who really played a lot of football for us, had that wonderful season when we nearly won the Premier League, but since then hasn't been as prolific. And then of course Simon Henning, who's just come off a brilliant season, our final season. He's done exceptionally well actually. Only 12 goals in the Premier League, but 21 overall. One of the best seasons we've had from a striker, but he doesn't get in the team of the save because obviously this is the easiest inclusion of all. Adam Eder, of course, obviously is the striker of the save. We looked at him a few episodes ago. What a man. His first 4 seasons were outstanding. He won the European Golden Boy after all, and then I don't know what went wrong. Something upset him. Something stopped him from performing at the level we knew he could do. It was a sad time, and in the saddest moment of all, we had to let him go. Didn't have a good time at Marseille, but he's since joined LASK in Austria and a very solid season for him in the Austrian Premier Division. So it's worked out well for him, and obviously he takes his place up front in the team of the save. So there we are then. That is my team of the save. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Anyone you would change around? Players that would be on the bench: Nick Pope, James Tarkowski. I think Sean Longstaff probably did well enough to get there. Aaron Hickey, Murray McCunny, Todd Cantwell, David Brooks and Lewis Cook. Why not? Ryan Davis if we're allowed 8 substitutes, which we're not really, but that's what I would go with. This then is what the game says is the overall best 11, and it's more or less what I would pick. Obviously Henderson is in goal. Lewis, Tamori, Mepham and Aris, that's what we've gone with. They've gone with Cook, Maddison and Phillips in midfield. I've gone with Chowdhury rather than Lewis Cook. They've gone with Cantwell rather than Solanke. Don't agree with that, but obviously Eder and Buendia are their picks in the other attacking positions. So yeah, I don't disagree too much with what the game thinks there, and that is going to be where we leave things off. As said, let me know what you think. Make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe as well. And yeah, it's been fun. It's been a very fun journey. I hope you have enjoyed it too, and I hope you can join me for our new save Going Local starting next week. If there's anything else you want me to sort of cover and tell you about what's happened in the save, any player you want me to look at, leave a comment below and I'll have a look for you. But all that remains to be said is thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.